What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about the total cost of ownership for me and my Tesla Model S for 1 year specifically. I have factored in the gas, the insurance, repairs, car payments, tire rotations, and more into this little cheat sheet I've provided, so I make sure that I keep on track here. And so we're going to go ahead and hop into it. First and foremost, I just did another video on this. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I think it'll be very interesting to you. Cutting to the chase, I drove 17,000 miles last year or this year, and that cost me $552 for all of that driving. No, you did not hear that wrong. Yes, that is calculated correctly. You can triple check my math on the video over there. I do have free supercharging, so that's a part of it. I think it was maybe 10-15% of the time. So adding that cost back in, we're talking to a grand total of $996 had I paid for supercharging, which brings us to $996 as the start of fuel costs. Then we flip over to insurance. And so for insurance, I paid $522. I have a 6-month policy. I am assuming that that will be somewhat similar in the following 6 months. And that comes to a grand total of $1,057 for just my Tesla. I do have my wife on the policy, but I didn't think it was fair to factor that into the cost of ownership because many of you may not have 2 vehicles on your insurance and you just want to know the cost of one. So $1,057 is the grand total for your insurance cost. Repairs. I have a 2016 Model S, which means that sometimes things will break just like any other car. I had a door handle that went out on me for $148. My rear hatch ended up having an issue, which was $207. And then I randomly had an airbag light come on that I was personally just a little paranoid about. There's really no issue with it, but I just don't like having any lights, things, or stuff going on in my vehicles. And that cost me a grand total of $210 for the diagnostic and the fix, which brings to a grand total of repairs of $565 specific for this year. Then we have a car payment. Now, a car payment I felt was obviously all over the place. It depends on what your interest rate is. It depends on how much money you put down. It depends on how good your credit score is, all of those different items. And so what I thought was the most fair item to do is to actually just go at the going rate. So the current going rate is 9.84 on your interest rate. And for my specific model, so a 2016, you can pick them up for between $25,000 and $28,000 as it sits, which brings you to a grand total of $5,544. Tire rotation is quite literally the only thing that you have to pay for on a Tesla in terms of maintenance. You don't have to deal with oil changes and things like that. Yes, there's windshield wiper fluid. I have only had to fill my thing one time, which costs about $4, which felt kind of silly to include in on this. I felt like tire rotation was worth mentioning because that for sure needs to be done. I could be wrong, but I believe any place that you buy your tires will do a free tire rotation if you bought your tires there. Now let's talk about tires. I am factoring in tires into this equation because it is a well-known fact that Teslas do seem to burn through tires quicker. I paid $1,019 for the 4 tires that are on my vehicle. They're supposed to have a life expectancy of 70,000 miles. I do not believe that that will happen. I am planning it will last a maximum of 3 years, especially when you factor in that I drove 17,000 just this year alone. Spacing that out over a 3-year period, that would cost $339 per year as a cost of ownership piece. And that brings us to a grand total of $8,501, all things considered being very realistic if you include supercharging. If you factor in my personal, so if you are lucky enough to find a free supercharging model like mine, the cost of ownership would be $8,057. So to me, that is incredible. I said it in my last video. I'll say it one more time just for everyone who's new here. I did not buy a Tesla to save the planet. I did not buy a Tesla because it was green. I did not buy a Tesla because I thought it would be cheaper than operating a Honda Accord. There are countless instances. If you buy a $4,000 Honda Civic, it is going to be a much better cost than if you buy a Tesla. So I did not buy a Tesla to save money in that realm. I bought a Tesla because I thought they were cool. They are fast. They have awesome technology. And it's just kind of fun to be a part of the ride. For those of you that are interested in a Tesla, I have all sorts of videos on my channel like this that may be helpful for you. Not only cost, but also just what you should be looking for when you're looking for a Tesla, how to identify if it has free supercharging, all of that type of stuff. And so if you're not already subscribed, you may want to. If this was helpful, consider liking it. Maybe share it with a friend that is a little off course on what the actual cost of a Tesla is. I find that many people still think that Teslas are $60,000 even whenever they are used.